Hey everybody, it's a frame rate. Huh?
Wow.
This is where we rate
Eyebrows.
frames. We rate frames. We watch a movie. We talk about the frames on them, and so in order to do that, we need to intro ourselves. And I'm Abe Epperson, one of the hosts, and I'm being joined by my co-host. Say your thing.
Michael Swaim. There has to be more than that, right? More of a
What do you
mission
mean?
statement or format.
We rate frames.
We watch it the movie.
We
talk
watch it
about
movie,
it.
We rate it to frames. I don't see anything wrong here.
I
This
like
looks
to
perfect.
think we bring, cogent insight to films that may have otherwise fallen by the wayside, if not for the spotlight that we alone can provide. And here to help us do that is our very special guest, Mr. Soren Bowie. Welcome.
Frame rate. We watch a movie and we talk about it. Frame rate.
Dude,
In this one, it's
hell
all
yeah.
about love and toe picks. Woo!
Toe picks.
It's a toe pick. It's a toe pick podcast. That's right.
Yeah.
So you guys can
Wow.
use that as your song from now on. That can be your
Thank you.
intro.
It's already, it's now my incoming text sound. Toe pick. Toasty.
Man, fucking cutting edge. Oh, before we begin, let's hear it. Let's hear it for Phaedrus, who picked the flick. Pick the flick tier on Small Beans. You can choose at a movie that we cover. and
Abe,
yes,
someday it's going to not be
Good
okay to casually mimic Italian accents. And on
Italian
that day,
accents?
sir,
Yeah.
they
on
will
that
come
day, I'll
for you.
be seen as a bigot, and
I think what Michael's saying is that milk it as long as you can.
But not
As for right
today.
now.
No.
The time is now.
So, wait, sorry. Who'd you say the shout out was to this time?
Phaedrus.
Phaedrus. It's another Phaedrus. Thank you, Phaedrus. And I'll just
Thank you,
say,
Phaedrus.
Phaedrus either knew that it had been far too long since we talked to Soren and that this would be a perfect Soren movie, or is just a Terry O'Quinn aficionado. I like to think both.
Oh yes.
Amazing Terry O'Quinn in this, but we usually kick things off on Frame Rate by asking our guests, so Soren, what is your relationship, if any, to The Cutting Edge? I get the impression this is not the first time you've seen The Cutting Edge.
No, it was a real treat to go back to, though. I think I watched it right around the time it came out, which is like 92 or 93. And my friend Ed and I watched it together. Well, we watched all winter sports movies. And we would say toe pick to each other constantly, thinking that was really funny. And I watched it this time and thought, I don't actually understand the joke.
I was going to ask you to explain it.
Yep. They even fumble the joke later too.
Well,
it's great.
It turns out it's not the only joke they fumble along the way.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense when he says it to her. So like should I explain the premise of this movie or could I just get into
give
it?
us a basic.
Sure.
Give us a basic
Sure.
paragraph or something.
Okay,
you know?
so if you were going to search for this movie, you'd have a hard time finding the genre because it's probably not a sports movie and it's also probably not a rom-com either. It's like somewhere in between, and it's about a hockey player whose career is over before it even begins, a phenom hockey player who then has to try becoming a figure skating pair with a woman who will not take any partner on. She hates all her partners. She's a great figure skater.
Got to tame that wild stallion, man.
Yeah, and in becoming partners, you'll never guess what happens. They fall in love.
Oh.
And win the Olympics at the same instant.
And they win
They
the
do.
Olympics.
Yes.
They kiss at the Olympics when everyone's like, "Good Lord, that was the greatest skating we've ever seen."
And the
in
first
our
time they
life."
mutually
Yes.
orgasm, someone
Yes.
holds up a little placard that says 10. It's just like, it's the combination of those two forces, winning a sport and achieving love. It's great.
Yeah.
Yep. It's actually like very much like Rocky.
We don't
It's like up
totally
there with
know
Rocky.
that they do win the Olympics, though. I mean, they really get
true.
out of this movie as fast as possible. They do their
mean,
last
you saw-
performance. We don't even get they don't even rate it. They don't grade or
They
anything.
kiss,
but
and then it ends.
They kiss, and everyone is clapping, and everyone in the everyone in the crowd is loving the shit out of this
they're
performance.
loving it, but we don't know.
Right.
You know,
We've
They
also
could
had
have
foreshadowing
gotten
earlier
less
that it's not fair ratings, that the judges are not
Right.
impartial, and that sometimes you have a really stellar performance and then you get 5 6s, whatever those are.
Yeah. exactly.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't
Whatever
really,
six
it doesn't
means.
dig into that. Like, there's no causality to that. It's like, yeah, I guess they bear some grudge against our heroes for this faceless consort of like devils hates our heroes for some reason.
They
And
don't
then
like that it's
changes their mind
untraditional.
efficiently. Yeah.
And they don't like what they represent for the sport. You know,
That's
the
true.
new hotness.
So-
the new hotness.
What I
Hockey
gleaned from
players.
context about toe pick,
Yes.
which first I thought was like, hey, are you getting a look at my camel toe back there? And I realized, then I took myself down a few notches and was like, surely not that. Surely not that.
Yeah.
Because she
Surely.
did the thing where she mooned her coach and skated away
Yeah, she did.
while
Yeah.
flipping the double deuces, I believe, or something. But anyway, isn't it that hockey player skates
Mhm.
don't have a toe pick because they don't stop on a dime? Figure skaters do. And she was using that difference between their skates and his lack of familiarity with her style to make him the fool, the buffoon.
She was.
That's right.
She was getting out in front of him. So like every time,
Yeah.
yes, he wasn't used to having essentially brakes on the front of his skates. And so
Yeah.
she would get deep out in front of him so that he couldn't keep up with her. And as he'd like reach out to try and do that, he'd lean forward on his skates and then fall on his face. But then at a certain point, he tricks her into thinking she's really injured him. And then, but this is with like a
Yeah.
hockey puck. And then he pulls off this bandage that apparently a doctor has helped him put on
Yeah.
just to
it's-
trick her. And
yeah.
he does have a massive wound on his face, but he goes,
It's just,
It's fun.
he goes, toe pick.
it's not as bad as
It's
you
like
thought
it's
it was.
gotcha. It's not like get good. It's like gotcha. So he has like a child's understanding of her joke, which is not even that good or hard to understand.
No, but I made note of a few other jokes that they did throughout where I was like, wait, what?
Right.
One of
What?
them is when they first they're at the Calgary Olympics when they first meet, which is this is not the one they win. The one they win is the Albertville or whatever you call it in France.
Yeah.
And then the Calgary Olympics,
Albertville.
the Calgary Olympics they
There we
meet,
go.
they bump into each other, and she goes, he gets up, he's like, which way is the ice? Which way is the ice? And she goes, well, were you born in a barn? And I just want that to sink in as a joke.
Right, yeah.
Because
What is the
when I was growing up, you would ask somebody if they were born in a barn, if they leave a door open. Because like barn doors, like who gives a
Yes,
shit?
that's the classic.
Yeah, but they run into each other and then he's rude to her and she says, what were you, born in a barn? And it doesn't work there.
Isn't that
it's-
when? Well, that also has really creepy overtone,
doesn't.
like jingoism overtones, because that's when he says. So he knocks this woman down. She says, "What were you raised in a barn?" And he says, "Honey, where I was raised, we stand for the national anthem."
Oh, that's right. That's right.
It's a pretty rough introduction to our dude
Yeah, she's on the ground, sprawled out.
because he knocked her over.
Knocked
And
her over.
and then he's
also
rubbing in her face.
fascinating to me that she's like the Chandler of this movie and that she only really has one joke, which is that exact phrasing. Other lines from the movie are, "What'd you do, soak 'em in battery acid? What
Yeah,
is
his-
this, the
his
final
hands.
stage of Ukrainian alcohol psychosis? What'd you
Yes.
do, shower once a week? Like, skate much?" That's her deal. That's her thing.
I mean,
that's her brand of
he-
comedy.
He starts doing that too. He has a few horrible things that he says to her, like, "What are you afraid you're gonna get fat when she doesn't have a drink?"
Yeah, he tries to. He's going to shame her into drinking alcohol by saying, "What? Are you afraid you're going to get fat?" And then we just move on.
I also love that at one point when they're like starting the date or whatever, he has a line which is, you know, a good line that I like to use when I'm dating, which is, "I never knew you had so many teeth."
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that? What the fuck is it this movie's writing?
I don't know. There's one that really made me angry because like I don't it's there's some weird you get to see the tracks of editing in it or something or like a script editing because
Right.
there's one where
Right.
where she's testing out a new person, a new guy. He's not going to work. And like they're doing this spinning move beforehand, like the sit spin or whatever the fuck it's called. And he's not getting it. And she says what he needs is a trip back to wherever he lives. Like he needs a ride to the airport. And she says, "I've got laundry that can skate better than that."
What?
And
Laundry?
right, but they're doing a spin move, which means like it's so easy to just say, "I've got laundry that can spin better than that," which makes me think at some point there was
Yeah.
somebody in the writing who was like, or the producer or somebody was like, I don't do we remember that they were spinning 15 seconds ago? I mean, this is about ice skating.
Yeah.
Can we make the skate better than that? That's funny. Think about ice skate. Think about laundry ice skating.
Can you
Isn't that
spin
fun?
like a snow cone, like a shaved ice, like that spinner, that tumbler? I think people will get that. I don't think that's a stretch.
We did a good job today.
And I watched that one, and then I went and turned on subtitles after that because I was like, they cannot have said skate
way,
better.
yeah.
That can't be true. And so I went back and watched it. And I was like, no, they definitely say skate.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real.
Well, this is the kind of movie that has a literal. I can't believe there's a plot load bearing construct that is literally the thing where there's like an experimental routine they could do. But the coach is like, no, it's too dangerous. And then they look at the experimental routine together and they're like, is that a bounce spin into a throw? No way. That's illegal. So like they're going to this is the type of movie where they're going to save the day using an experimental routine. Let me just say this. The resolution of the plot of this film can be boiled down to the female of the pair saying, you know what? I have been a bitch. Swing me around like a club so that my head is a few inches from the ice. And he's like, finally, I love you.
Yeah, and
He
says, he says, you didn't have to do that. And she says, yes, I do because I love you. I needed to be swung around like that to prove to you that I love you.
Yeah.
It is crazy. Yeah. And also like the way that the coach he comes up with this thing. He's been working on this new spin for a very long time, but it's not like he has no way to show it to them other than he's drawn out sketches of it that he puts on the ice for them to see.
That's right.
It's like, surely there's another medium available to you, even in 1983.
No, it's that hypothetical.
It's a flip book.
It's like physics. You have to do math in order to pull it off.
What I did like about this movie is that I didn't know either of those people. I did not recognize them from a single movie in my entire life, and I thought they were both great.
Kelly and J.B. Sweeney.
Yes, Myra Kelly.
I still don't recognize them from anything. In fact, their faces are already fading away as we discuss them.
Not even like other movies of the era where it was. I would feel like, oh, okay, they were really giving this person a shot, and nothing. I mean, I went and looked at their IMDb's, and I was like, no, I don't know you from anything.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big role because he was Shoeless Joe Jackson in 8 Men Out.
Okay.
Have you seen that one? And that's like kind of a big role, and he was pretty good in that. I also know he was in Fire in the Sky. But yeah, he did not have he had a pretty good career. He's still working. But like, it's crazy for how much there's some actors that like for no reason whatsoever they get in my brain and I'm like, oh yeah, JB Sweeney, baby. But like I can't name more than 3 movies, and all the movies I name are like mediocre films. Like maybe he's on TV or did something. Wasn't he in like NYPD Blue or something? I don't know. Maybe. Whatever. Yeah. He's had a career. He's known.
Yeah.
And so is she but she was like kind of like an indie darling, like kind of like she was in Fire Walk with Me, the Twin Peaks movie. Yeah. But like other than that, she does not have that much of a credit at this point in her career. So it's a big gamble on everyone's. Yeah.
Well, and yet it's not. It's the most formulaic, and yet it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
It's like a gamble on the idea of peanut butter and chocolate tasting good together. Yeah. You're like, that's a safe gamble.
Yeah, why don't you try it? They do spend a lot of time. Her archetype is just bitch. They call her a bitch a lot in it.
Yeah.
They frequently are like calling her the Ice Queen, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to watch this movie and think, yeah, some women are just difficult. And that's like what your takeaway is. And then when she softens up and warms to him, we're like, yeah, that's what a bitch should do. And that's really not a great message.
Right, Soren.
Yeah, it's not a good message at all. It's definitely how rom-coms of this era were designed, though.
Yeah.
The gendering is very real.
Yes.
And I think that there's a lot of psychology and therapy needed to recorrect this.
It's all the Taming of the Shrews' fault. It legitimized this dynamic.
It is nice.
And now everyone can say it's an archetype.
Yeah, that we can watch it now and be like, oh no, that's not how humanity works.
That's wrong.
I will say I watched this with my mom, and She said "what a bitch" several times in Act 1, and then my favorite, like, live response the whole time was when they pick him up. The Russian coach picks him up at a construction site and gives him his last chance, right, to skate again professionally, which is to basically be the hype man. You just have to be able to lift her and hold her and not fuck up. She's the star, right? Be the hype man for this lady. And they pull up to her house and he's in his dirty construction outfit and it's a mansion. My mom literally like sat up and went, "Oh, this will be interesting."
Yes.
Here we go. 1992
Here
is
we
weaving its spell.
Now, hold on. Can
It
we
works,
talk
man.
for a second about the construction site where the Russian coach finds him?
Yes, please,
Mhm.
of course.
I have a couple of questions. Number one, what is his job? Like, what is he, for a while he's at like a smokestack doing his job. He's wearing like a jumpsuit and he's covered in soot, and like he gets in a truck and goes back to a bar. And then later he's working on a construction site. It's not clear to me what his blue collar job is while he's not playing hockey.
Oh,
I think that they just assume that he had, like, you're gonna read he has multiple jobs because he needs to like fill up all the time.
Okay.
I think that's what they're doing because it's like blue collar, but it's also like he needs to be like a John McClane. Everything has to be kind of like shitty for him.
I thought
Because that's
it's funny that
I mean, it's
you
the trope.
mentioned the only like biosphere of blue collar work that we didn't touch. All my notes say are he works at a dock, so I thought he worked at a dock. and then I wrote later, "Oh wait, it's Duluth, Minnesota. Do they have docks?"
Do they have
We
dogs?
see him like at quitting time, and he's got one of those steel pail lunch boxes, and he's in a jumpsuit and filthy. And it's like he's walking away from some smoke towers, and I'm like, we don't know what that job is. But then later, he's hanging from a beam by like one arm and hammering,
hammering some shit.
hammering.
Good lord.
That's not.
And by the way,
he'll do anything, babe.
when he gets home from his job, his brother says, "Quote, are you gonna fight me? Gonna fight the world? You gonna fight everybody? Well, put me on the list, pal. Come on, let's go."
And then he says, "Make your own sandwich," because there's a weird runner of one brother saying, "Make me a sandwich" to the
Make
other
me a
one
sandwich.
that I feel like was a pretty easy lift. They could have just like it never
Resolve
paid
their
off.
differences. Well,
They don't, not once does JB Sweeney say to Wire Kelly, "Make me a sandwich."
No. Despite the era, that never happens.
That never once happened in this movie. Yeah. I'm no bartender. Get used to it. God, there's that. His whole relationship with his brother is really funny. I mean, I know what they're doing because the sandwich bit is like, you'll always have a home here, but like you're at the end of the rope in terms of like our good graces. Like we're not going to make it easy for you. Like you can have a sandwich, but you have to make it.
I see.
I mean, that's what they're doing with that. But like it's weird. It's like a weird metaphor and not really needed as he's going to like meet a woman who changes his life. Like what is this whole sequence?
I didn't even register with me that he was eating up all his goodwill with his brother, and that's what that was. He was literally eating it up. Okay. Like, that makes more sense. Yeah. I just thought, what are we doing? Why is the sandwich so important to this fight?
There's that's a great question for this movie because there's a lot of montages and shit too that I'm like, this is not necessary. You already did this.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to. There's so many times that they prove to us how good they are at their independent things. And I guess that's the fun and games of it, but it's just like, I think you were really right when you said like it doesn't know if it's a rom-com or if it's a sports movie because it takes from both and it does neither.
It doesn't do either very well.
Oh, you think it does neither?
Well, I think that it does.
All right,
it has
let's get into this. Let's judge this thing seriously.
It doesn't like do the complete. When you think of like Major League or something like that, that is designed to efficiently line up the beats so that you are super happy when they win, right? This one, they do a thing where and I think it's actually smart. They know that like we as viewers will watch their relationship culminating as a kind of metaphor for their success professionally. But I do think that because of that, you don't have the scene where they like, you get real quick scenes where they like in the rom-com, they're typically like there's one last beat where the couple is like, no, it's fucked, it's never gonna work out. It's like the Dark Night of the Soul, right? In a sports movie, that's a very different thing. That usually comes at the final game. You're deep into Act 3, and then that happens. In this movie, it happens like
in the rom-coms.
In the rom-com slot,
Yeah.
and so you don't really feel the tension at the very end. They have to facilitate this weird like, oh, you fucked this woman or something like that. I forget what they do.
They
but it's
literally
just
do
like-
the Friends. We were on a break. Because
Yeah, we're on a break.
what's funny
yeah.
is this is the whole arc as the plot is stitched together. Point A, she has never had a drink. Point B, one way that they're getting closer is he pressures her socially into finally
right,
drinking. Point C, he's too good a guy to have sex with her while she's drunk. Point D, he has random sex with some stranger that night, and then that's the break, and then she catches him, and he's like, you threw me out of your room," and she's like, "Well, I wanted you to bone me when I was drunk," and he's like, "I don't do that." And then I ask, "Well, why'd you get her drunk then? She never drank before." But you know, they get over it.
Yeah.
That is
So you didn't
Oh,
feel
my-
triumphant when he swings her around like a club?
Swings around like a club.
Or you
and
don't
almost
feel that
smashes her
fulfills
head.
at least the promise of the slot?
It does
Like, they do the special
fulfill-
move that no one could do.
They do the special. I mean, that's the thing is all the things are there.
Yeah,
all the
they're
pieces
there.
are there, but they're just like mentioned and they're quickly done because they have to do so much shit. Like they have to track all of the different plot lines there.
It is interesting how they have to pack two different movies into one because of that.
Yeah.
And so like
You really feel it.
yeah, you see, I know it's like when you like lay out the formula of how a sports movie is supposed to work or how a rom-com is supposed to work, they are diametrically opposed. You're absolutely right. Like you can't get the tension resolved of both at the very end of a movie like that. It's kind of like you can tack on love to a sports movie like Major League or something like that, but you can't. It doesn't work to try and do both. And also, I don't know if these people are good enough skaters that you could make a really good, fun,
where it's
followable
just like,
movie.
look at the skating. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah, where you're gonna be able to watch and be like, I know that it's going well.
It's like a martial
as somebody
arts
who
film.
who doesn't care about skating,
Yeah.
I can look at that and know that that's good.
Yeah, they do a lot of tricks on you from like filmmaker tricks to make you think that they're really good. I actually think that the stunt skaters are pretty impressive. Like whoever's flipping her around like a club, kudos to you, sir. But and also you, the club lady,
You're nailing it.
But, but
honestly,
like,
hey, if we're being honest, I mean, the swinger's doing most of the work, but you know, you're not fucking it up.
You're there and you're contributing. I love it. But hey, if you look over like the music montages of them skating, most of it is in like low shutter
It's
speed.
choppy. Yeah.
And so it makes it choppy and it makes you not really quite see all the naturalistic like fuck up someone might actually make when you're skating so gloriously.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't know, it's just like slow shutter speed is not very flattering. It's not like graceful, which is what figure skating's big deal is. And I just thought that was a weird choice.
You'd think you'd
to
want
make
60
it look,
FPS, 4K, like, sports,
Yeah.
like they film the Olympics.
like, yeah.
Here's the thing.
Give me that shit.
So
but
if you think
whatever.
about it as as hybridizing two genres, it kind of has structural problems. But what about if you think of it as the fever dream of like almost like a James Bond? Like I compare it to, I believe, a Soren article from the Cracked days about like how everyone at the Olympic Village fucks all the time. It feels
Yeah.
like just what if you had someone sat down and thought, what if I won the Olympics, but also I boned and got true love? Now that's a movie. Like it's ultimate wish
That's right.
fulfillment, and I think it succeeds in that regard.
Yes.
It's like it's that plus an Odd Couple, right? Okay. I guess what we're dancing around is which do you think it is more? Because I feel like structurally it veered into rom-com and abandoned sports, right?
yeah.
I think so.
Okay.
I think in the end they went with what was working and the on-screen
And
Chemistry
the
was
chemistry
working.
between the two is the thing that
Yes.
seems to be a vehicle for it.
I think it stops being a sports movie when they win nationals. Like when they do their performance at nationals and he's very, very nervous and it looks like it might go really poorly. That's the only time you really feel the tension with them on the ice. And then he skates really, really well and she's impressed while they're doing it. And like we really focus on that. And then the performance ends and they have this moment where they look at each other like, holy shit, we just did that. and then they do very well. And that's when everyone's like, okay, they can skate now. Like, who gives a shit? There's nowhere to grow.
Who gives a shit about it? Yeah. Because they set up early on that she, like, in fact, one of the only moments that they give for Kate to, like, actually develop as a character is when she has her kind of monologue where she basically says, like, the reason that I've never won and the reason I'm so, like, hard to deal with is that I don't know anything other than skating. And so, like, I know that it's like a foregone conclusion that I will win the gold at some point. I just want to prolong this as long as I can because I love skating and I don't know what I would do without it. And so it's like, that is the setup. You have this assumption of success. There's no stakes whatsoever or no feeling of conflict that's going to go away. There's no other character that is, I don't know, a foil to that, like an antagonist who's like twirling their mustache and is like, I'm a better skater than you, you know, like
well,
we
Brian.
don't get that. And you would get that. There's Brian. Oh, Brian, we need to talk about Brian. My favorite part about Brian is that we get one little line when she's drunk and she's like, this is where you sleep, because all the boys that they bring in sleep in the same like house on her compound or whatever, and and she has a little reference, like she just references that Brian, who used to live here, had mirrors on the ceiling.
Yeah, mirrors everywhere.
He was a fuckboy. Yeah, he was a fuckboy. Yeah, he fucks so much he needed mirrors.
He's perfect
everywhere.
for the Olympics in that respect.
He's perfect. Yeah,
and the Olympic Village, exactly.
Yeah, Brian was her ex-partner. So if you, I don't know if you expect people to even listen to this without having seen the film, but like Brian was the guy who blew it for her at the Calgary Olympics. She felt. And then he was the one who then makes it to the next Olympics with a different partner. And that sets up our protagonist is going to sleep with the wrong woman.
That's their posture toward making it a sports film. That's the rival. Yeah.
And he's not a rival at all.
He's not a rival. He's just a fuckboy.
In fact, he comes up and says, Doug is handsome and I wish you well and good luck.
He's such a fuckboy that he's like, I'll fuck you, I'll fuck you, I'll fuck everybody. But, Doug, you're...
Sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
In that same respect, from the rom-com version, which is you need to get like some other relationship out of the way so that these two people can be together. We have like a half version of that as well, which is Hale. Right. Hale is her boyfriend who's going to Harvard law school or business school or whatever, but he couldn't be a nicer guy. He's like, he's so kind and patient with her. And at a certain point, the relationship is just over so we can actually have our two protagonists together.
Yeah, in fact, one of the actual arcs with him, that all of like his character is just, at one point he's like, you seem to be really like worked up about Doug all the time. You're probably in love with Doug.
And then it cuts and their relationship has dissolved on the cut.
He helps her come to terms with her, like find her own feelings, which is very kind of him.
Fucking yes, dude.
Finds her earring for her, and like she's hurling abuse at him while he's at the Olympics with her for some reason, and then he's like, I think maybe I know what's going on here. I think maybe you're in love with Doug. Okay, see ya.
Oh, okay. Yes.
He steps in front of a bus and he just gets wiped out of existence.
So all these characters that are designed to be like foils and really propel the sports movie forward, or like some form of conflict that would be outside of the romantic conflict, they nullify them within a few moves. So there really isn't much left standing at the end of the film that makes me go, this is a sports movie.
You know what hybridized sports well with other genres though was Friday Night Lights. I feel like the series nailed this, but not rom-com. It had romantic through lines, but not rom-com per se.
I think Abe's right. Like there are certain movies that lend themselves to the same. You could put them up against each other and you could see, oh, this is where the same beats are supposed to happen. And like political movies, it does map really well to a sports movie. So you can combine politics and sports really, really great. And I think that Friday Night Lights sort of qualifies as that because you've got like small town football, which has its own, like, there's a diplomacy to it. And whatever that like Springbucks movie was with Matt Damon, where he's a a South African rugby player. Like there's politics and sports do really great together, I feel. Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans is outstanding.
The Titans. Yeah.
No, not Invincible. God damn it. Invictus.
Invictus. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah, good call.
I
thought you were mentioning the Wahlberg film, the Disney Wahlberg football film.
Oh, Invincible. Yeah.
Yeah, where he's just the Boston, just asshole who just plays football, and we're all like, yeah, this is awesome.
I don't know if you'll ever have a chance to, because we don't watch DVDs anymore, but there's a commentary from the guy who that movie's about over Invincible, and he cries like 4 times throughout the movie.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's special.
Because it's such a great memory for him. And also, like, this is all just ball washing for him. They've got Mark Wahlberg to play him, and like he couldn't be a better person throughout the whole movie.
That's like Antoine Fisher watching Antoine Fisher being like, they really nailed it.
Oh god.
And he just is so in love with this movie because of the way it presents him.
Of course.
I think if I saw my life rendered as a real big budget, glossy, perfect version Hollywood movie, I would probably cry. I'd be like, I am so great. It's true. My shit is poignant. My shit is the shit that matters. Oh my god.
It might overshadow the distaste of having you being played by Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough turn.
Oh, I don't think this guy cares at all. I think this guy was
this guy thinks it's a plus. Yeah. For sure. So I think that's, I think we kind of.
I'm trying to think of who would be the analog of, like, even though I do kind of like him, but like, I don't know if the Michael Swaim story came out and it was like Bill Burr, I'd be like, I don't know where they got that from. That's weird. Trying to think who would rub me the wrong way. But I'm like, why is it them?
Mm-hmm.
Right. How history remembers us.
There is a central conflict in this movie that they kind of blaze over for J.B. Sweeney's character, which is that after we have spent all the time in boot camp and he is now a figure skater and he's really good, they have that sequence where he goes back home, right? Mm-hmm. He goes to Boston or whatever, and or like goes to Minnesota and then up to Boston. I don't understand. But there's this thing where he goes to his old bar, meets his brother and like all the crew there that
the penalty box.
God, he still think he's a god on ice, and he tells them that he's a figure skater. And my favorite part of that is, or perhaps favorite part of the movie, is his brother tells him that reason that is bad, if you look at those lines, is because that figure skating is a slippery slope to becoming a mascot for a professional hockey team.
His brother's super worried he's going to be on the ice capades.
Which is just not true. I don't think that that's true in any version of reality.
It's not a fast track.
And 2, it's like, I don't know why that's bad.
Why would that bring shame upon your family?
Why does it apparently suck? Yeah, exactly. Because I guess it's machismo. It's all hockey, rah.
But not suck like I'm going to make fun of you. Suck like we have to fist fight because you're dishonoring the family.
with your fancy pants and your spin kicks.
One of my favorite jokes in the movie though is when he comes back, when he tells everyone, I guess told his brother he's been in the Merchant Marines until that point, and he gets back to the bar and everyone's like, so what was the sailing like, or like whatever their questions are for a Merchant Marine, and he's like, and he has to come clean to everybody that he wasn't doing that, and he goes, I've been figure skating, and somebody goes, finger painting? Like figure skating is not even on their radar, as like they don't know what
it is. It's unfathomable.
In Minnesota, they live in like ice country, and they have no idea what figure skating is.
They're just like, what is that?
I think maybe he said finger painting wrong. I think maybe he said finger painting.
That must be it. Yeah, it's amazing depiction of Minnesota.
Yeah.
This is the other reason I don't think it's a sports movie either, is that he's in Minnesota. He's like lived in Minnesota his whole life, and he's in like rural town Minnesota. Now, Minnesota, up until 1993, had a great hockey team called the North Stars, which then moved. Mm-hmm. But the North Stars had a huge rivalry during that period with the Blackhawks, which is Chicago's team. And you would have, let's say like you walked into a bar in Minnesota wearing a Blackhawks jersey, I think you would have gotten the shit beat out of you in rural Minnesota.
Yeah, right.
But he's, for whatever reason, in love with the Blackhawks instead of the North Stars, and it doesn't make any sense. He like gives her a Blackhawks jersey. He gives her like Bobby Hull's jersey. He calls it Bobby Hull's sweater, by the way, which is a weird thing.
I was gonna ask, is that a thing in hockey?
That's a real.
I don't know. I don't think so.
You all call them sweaters over there?
I think they're jerseys, man.
I thought they were jerseys.
I think they are. I don't think that there would be a reason to call it a sweater because it's not. It's
this
a jersey.
is Bobby Hull's button down. You wear that. You cry.
So I'm not.
Call it a pullover sometimes.
It's not clear like why they would have. The Blackhawks was like maybe the worst choice they could have had because that's the absolute rivalry of the North Stars during like the early 90s, late 80s. And I feel like this movie would have made a lot of people in Minnesota really mad.
Yeah.
Do you think it's to show that he's a little weirder than like he doesn't just fit in?
He's a punk rock
world?
Hockey player.
Yeah, that could
or
be
something. I don't know. I'm trying to could be, but like I feel like people who know hockey better than I would probably find a reason for that to be true.
I haven't seen it, but I know everyone loves it. Does Goon have successfully blend rom-com and sports?
Goon is
it's buddy comedy.
Yeah.
Buddy comedy and sports.
Well, actually, that's not
that
true.
Works
and
more.
it's not really rom-com. It's more of actually just a romance. Like it's through and through.
They're not having sex. They're making love, my friend.
It's through and through a sports movie, I'd say. There are buddy comedy elements of it. It's less like I'm trying to make a thing that you're familiar with.
Right.
It's like actually
Goon is definitely a sports movie. Yeah, and with elements of romance in it. And that's what I think a lot of really successful in fact, I can't think of a single sports movie that doesn't have like some romance in it where like the guy has to get the girl at the end.
Moneyball.
Yeah, he gets Jonah Hill at the end, or Jonah Hill gets him, I guess. He gets called a good egg, and that's how I say I love you.
That's the attaboy. That's
in
right.
Billy Bean.
By the way, my favorite joke from this movie. Don't worry, I'll stop throwing up. It only takes me like 10 minutes usually to relax. Our program's only 2.5 minutes. Oh, classic. That's not bad. But it's clearly a rom-com. Like, I don't know. Yeah, we're all just saying the same thing.
That scene to me is amazing. Oh, sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, I was just going to bring up evidence before the jury. Like, but we're always fighting foreplay. Or
right.
You're an insufferable asshole of the lowest order. Just skate. And you're like, these are rom-com lines, not sports movie lines. You know what I mean? These are the tropes of the rom-com.
I wouldn't wish this on a snake.
Oh, yeah. That's right. When he quits, he says, I wouldn't wish this on a snake.
Because, wishing shit on snakes, I guess, is the thing that we do. No, you were referencing the vomit scene or the scene where he's throwing up because he's nervous.
Before the Olympics,
that made me think of, like, so there. I'm trying to imagine if there's a better like sports moment that could ever occur. I think the best thing that would ever happen is if someone was on the ice. It could be in hockey. It could be, it's best in figure skating, and just vomits on the ice. If we had footage of that, that would be the greatest sports moment in all of history, right? Like, that is the funniest fucking
best
thing
Olympic sport to projectile vomit. I think maybe the ski jump would also be good, like at the apex of the jump.
Like right at the apex.
Right as their legs split and they just throw up between it and it just trails behind them.
Yeah.
But of course, the wind is swatting it back into their face.
I get now. I'm thinking like there's a ton of winter sports that would be fun. I mean, like being on like that whatever the skull sled is, not the bobsled, but the one where you're head first on the ice.
Oh yeah.
Or even just the front guy in the 2-man luge, and then the back guy gets it.
It's
vomiting on vomiting on ice or going really fast, really fun.
Vomiting on ice.
Vomiting at the Winter Olympics. We need this.
It just slops there. It just slops right on the ice. It's slippery. It's perfect.
I don't know what you do with
it. I don't know what you do with it. All I know is that I had that thought, and now I want to see it. And this movie was a coward for not.
Throwing a discus, not as funny.
Not
Triple jump, not
Oh.
as funny. It's Winter Olympics.
Ooh, discus actually is that the one where they like spin in a
Man,
circle?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
true,
yeah,
I guess. I guess maybe throwing up is funny in sports. It just always works.
I mean, like if baseball, it's not as funny.
No.
Like, there's not really an activity.
There's
to do in
no
baseball
throwing
with
up in baseball.
But like winter sports, for some reason, it's really
It's
good.
really fun, and
Really
especially
good.
on ice. Part of it is that I don't know ice well enough to know like how you get that off. Then I don't know. Like, can you just scrape it
Yeah.
off? And
It's like a windshield scraper, like Fargo.
Needed.
Yeah.
You're gonna need a Zamboni to cover it up at the
I
end.
think you must. And then also, it's warm, so like the minute it hits the ice, it's melting into the ice a little
It's
bit.
melting in the ice, but it's also becoming chilled
Yeah.
vomit. So it's got there's a lot of complexity, as Soren points out in this joke. Very complex joke. Very deep
They
joke.
don't bother to show vomit in this movie, and I don't know if that's like a ratings thing. But what they do instead is they establish that it is super gross behind the curtain where he's throwing up because there's a 6 or 7-year-old girl who makes a face. She goes, "Ew."
Yeah.
And a 6 or 7-year-old girl who's dressed to skate. She's in her skating outfit at nationals, and I don't know what the fuck she's
is
doing
she?
there.
Is this like Junior Olympics as well?
Yeah,
Like, what's going
it's
on?
not clear. She's the only child in the whole movie.
Oh, and
she-
they accomplish the fact that we're even at the Olympics with some very inset close-ups
Yeah.
of the kinds of things you might see at opening ceremonies, and then a hard cut to a very small, manageable press room that we see the whole Olympics from. So, like, obviously, they
couldn't
couldn't
do an
accomplish the Olympics.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You couldn't have crowds, and that's fair. That's honestly fair. The budget on this wasn't crazy.
I was very excited to talk about this movie specifically with you guys after the first 2 minutes of watching it because I realized that we have been right in that stadium, the three of us. Well, we
The
went
Olympics Stadium or the Calgary Stadium?
That's the Calgary Rodeo.
Oh,
that's the
where I
Calgary Rodeo.
interviewed Tom Kenny about his role as SpongeBob.
That's the first thing I thought. I was like, Tom Kenny, that's where Michael did it.
Okay.
That's
he's standing right
bizarre.
there.
Yeah, we've been in there, and I interviewed Adam Tudyk there. You interviewed Tom Kenny. Like
Daniel interviewed Stan Lee, I think.
Yes, Stan Lee, right on that.
Yeah.
And all like right. And I looked at this because you recognize the seats. The seats are all like a very strange multicolor. The palette is a Paul Thomas Anderson
And they
movie,
never changed it.
and
Yeah.
it looks so great. Like I was excited to. I was like, yes, there couldn't be more perfect people to talk to about this.
Yeah, those interviews are wild because I'm pretty sure that to this day is the biggest crowd I've ever been in front of, just in terms of sheer live bodies, because it's this convention, like a comics convention, but it's attached to a
Right.
real stadium, and they would have interviews with the like figureheads of the convention, and most people, if you're attending, you're like, yeah, I'll show up to the big thing, right? So we would just conduct the interviews, but I was terrified for that. Like for the Tom Kenny one, man, I was devastatingly nervous. It's like a blank to me. There were so many people there, and that's normally for what, rodeos?
Yes, that's the rodeo grounds, and they have a huge like rodeo days in Calgary. It's a very, very big deal.
Yeah.
It's like a 3-day event. And I guess some of the Olympics was just there, but it was very exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, I believe.
And it was, you're absolutely right. Like that's like the thing that I've done in my life in front of the most people at once.
Yeah.
And it's terrifying.
When you were backstage with Alan Tudyk, did you go like, hey, cutting edge? Huh? Cutting edge.
Just vomit.
You know
on
what I
the
mean?
ice.
Foreplay.
Foreplay, Adam. I
This
mean,
thing we do,
Alan,
it's
whatever your
foreplay.
name is.
Yeah, Alan.
you big time Alan, dude. That's perfect. That's so perfect.
But in the skating, and
Yeah.
like they have to have for the Olympics and everything in this movie, you have to show people in the audience while you're showing the skating, and it's very tough to do, obviously, because you can't have that many extras.
Right.
And so instead, there's this new conceit that we just live with, which is that at ice skating events, it's very smoky, and the light just sort of shines through the smoke somehow, and you only get
Well, yeah.
like little
That's
glimpses.
the year. That's the year laser tag was added to the roster.
Yeah, right.
Which is, it's really fun to watch because they're skating on ice and it's like, it's almost completely black in these stadiums. And then every once in a while you get a pan of the audience and they're all wearing winter gear to let you know that We are at the Winter Olympics. Yeah. It is cold, which is not the case. If you've ever been to a hockey game or anything, it's not like you're fine in a t-shirt. But these people are wearing headbands and like Obermeyer ski jackets and stuff.
Yeah.
Clapping.
It's great. It's great. That's I mean, they do. There's some iconic shots in this movie though.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go. They like at all that like slow shutter speed stuff actually does look fairly good. Like when they do pull off the big final secret move, you know, it's like it's so short and it's like less than a minute of development, but like the shot is so good that I do remember it because I remember I watched this movie kind of a lot when I was a kid, surprisingly, because it was one of the VHS. We had it on VHS, and I don't know why. I just liked this movie. It's kind of just very strange. Don't know why that is. I'm sure a therapist would say why I could gravitate towards more forward commanding and seemingly unapproachable women that I don't know.
They just write toe pick on their pad.
Toe pick, and I'm just like, no, and pull me back in. But like, yeah, there's some like, I remember thinking that the sparklers shot.
Yes.
You know,
at New Year's.
That one.
Yeah.
At New Year's that one's like, I remember that. Like there's.
Yeah.
I think that's the shot that like people remember when they think of this movie. There's like some good work, I'd say.
It does work really well. It's like a buddy. They're all kissing different people on New Year's, and they're all these very platonic kisses. I guess his aren't. He's got like some really lusty kisses with some random women.
Sloppy kisses. Yeah.
But like as they're making their way down this line of people kissing each other on New Year's, all of a sudden they're forced together, like two people dancing in like a place where all of a sudden you have a new partner, and then there's a sparkler right between them, and it is a really great shot, and they look good.
They look good. Yeah, I think they pull it off. I have to give it to them. They also pull off some of the fancier stuff in terms of the skating. Obviously, the stunt people are like really good, and they have to cut around it. But I don't know.
And then for the big argument scene where it almost falls apart, he gets so mad that it does Dutch angles. Oh, he's so angry. The camera can't even hold itself up all the
way. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
They follow, like they use techniques. There's some craft to it.
I do love that all is lost moment where she's mentioning that nothing in her life has been up to expectation, and she's just paddling, and she apologizes for wasting people's time and all that stuff. And then afterward, she contemplates it sitting on a parapet of her castle. Yeah. And I just thought that was like one of like they really are doing like Great Expectations, right? Doesn't he?
Oh, she gifts him Great Expectations in a scene where, for no reason in the plot whatsoever, she is nude. She's naked the entire scene.
Yeah, no reason.
Yeah,
good lord.
Talk about Great Expectations.
I prefer Shrek. I think Shrek is what this movie is. Actually, this is a Shrek.
Yeah, where at the end we all realize she's an ogre too.
She's actually good at hockey.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out who's the donkey character, but not all of them are perfect.
It's not perfect analog. I think we could squeeze it in. We'd figure out a shoehorn a character.
We figured it out.
That girl that makes the face. She's along for the ride and she's providing commentary.
Perfect.
That's true.
Vomit face girl.
Maybe it could be Fuckboy Brian. Who knows?
I did really believe them. I believed them when I wanted them to be together, like even though there were some problems with the movie, I was like,
that's the only thing. That's really the only thing the movie is or has going for it.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's like some good lines in I remember I did laugh when I forget what they're doing, but he's just like tying up his hockey equipment. They're about to play hockey, I think. He's about to shore, and she's like. She is making fun of him for being blue collar or whatever, and he says Doug can read.
Oh yeah. Oh, Doug Reed.
Doug Reed.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah. It's just so he just cuts her right down immediately, where he's just like, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to make fun of me, so I'm just gonna jump into it.
That is
it's cute.
That's the scene where she's got a chair, a soft plush chair on the ice for reasons I don't understand, and she's reading
for reasons I don't know.
and he's playing hockey around her with multiple sticks.
See, because he's classy. She's classy, and he's like a brigand with his multiple sticks. That is wild. That's wild.
Let's see. There's a training montage where the coach teaches him the best way to grab her butt, which I guess you would have to do that.
That would be a thing
to,
that you have to teach. Yeah.
Here's the base. Here's where you get the, the most leverage, stability.
Yeah.
But they really play that for all it's worth. I also like the idea that they use fancy wire work to train for the spins and shit. Like, I wonder if that's true at the Olympic level. It probably is.
I bet.
Yeah.
That they
I bet.
use like wire harnesses so that you can spin over and over and hold each other up and practice for hours. That's wild.
I
At
think
that
they
point,
must.
so if you're going to devote that much time to using your body in that way and involve wires, I just feel like I'd do martial arts instead of figure skating.
Yeah, you just suddenly.
I would
don't
rather
think
do
you can actually
wushu
use the
shit.
wires. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she didn't want to do martial arts because that's not like an easy path to get that gold medal in her daddy's box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. At the end of the day, she just wants to go back in time and have him tell her that I love you because you're my daughter.
Yeah.
Which is
There's
something I think I've seen parodied before, that moment, and multiple things. But yeah,
probably. Yeah. It's like a Simpsons thing.
I just want
There's
you to say I love you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Blades of Glory, obviously, for
Mhm.
obvious reasons.
Glory.
Because they're kind of like one of the best parts of the movie to me is like I think there's characters called the Weisermans or whoever.
Whitermans.
They're the ones who
Weidermans.
fall and fuck up to allow them to qualify.
Yeah.
And like their whole deal is that they were in lederhosen and it's like a fucking polka or some shit.
Yeah.
And it's just it is legitimately like one of the more hilarious things that I've seen of like, I don't understand figure skating. This is nonsense because they are having a great time over there. And I understand that it's like very elegant. And
They
stuff,
should have had more
but it's
weirdly
a
themed
fucking polka.
teams. Yeah, like
It's like
the
brr,
mime
brr,
team.
brr,
Like,
brr.
let's do some Warriors type shit here.
Yeah, I wish they did that. But I mean, that's not what this movie is, right?
The figure
But-
skaters that are all in baseball jerseys. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Clicking bottles on their fingers.
Yeah.
Abe, you said that this was a movie that you don't know why you liked it so much when you were young. It was a movie that like really stuck in my craw too when I was younger. Like when you mentioned a couple movies that I could choose from, I was like, oh fucking yeah, obviously Cutting Edge. I'd love to go back and watch that movie. And I think that's true of a lot of people because this movie is, that there are 3 other sequels to this.
Wow.
No, I didn't.
Yeah. There's the Cutting Edge going for
Really?
gold,
Well,
Cutting
the
Edge
Blade
chasing
trilogy,
the dream.
right?
Going for gold.
Chasing the dream. And the Cutting Edge, Fire and Ice.
Fire and Ice.
Oh wow. Jesus Christ. I'm never going to watch these, but I'm so glad that I know they exist. That's amazing. So yeah, it really did.
I could see
grab
myself watching these.
the hearts and minds of
It's
of the people in the 90s.
I don't know why. Like everyone, it somehow like it knew the pulse of
Does
what was
it-
going on there.
Have you seen them, Soren? Can we
No,
pick your brain
no.
about these?
I would-
Okay. Because I immediately have so many questions. Does it follow them? Do they fall out of love? Do they win the Olympics again? Like, you know what I mean?
It's all new people each time. It's new
Okay.
couples each time.
Gotcha.
But
it's the same idea. It's a Shrek on ice, right?
yes, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
It's 2 people who shouldn't be together having to work together, and lo and behold, that working together makes them realize how
It
much they have
works.
in common, and they fall in love.
Yeah. It's so many things.
that's
That's
life,
why
isn't it?
Oh, I mean,
the
that's why I
building
mentioned like
block of
Blades
life.
of Glory.
Yeah.
It's like literally the same thing. Like the bad boy of skating and the refined person of skating have to find a synthesis, and the synthesis is a little bit elegant, a little bit bad boy.
Yeah, it is actually how they win, right? Is that they
Right.
incorporate his strength
It's
and
rock.
it makes me
Sure,
wonder when they were like making this film. I'm sure that maybe they didn't get these shots first, but the hockey stuff there, we do get to see some hockey early on. Like we get to see him play it in the Olympics, and the choppy, like low frame rate stuff works pretty well for hockey shots, where they're like on the ice, where everything feels like it's moving too fast, and like you're just catching glimpses of stuff.
Checking each other and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually working really well, and I wonder if they were just like, all right, we got like some. They do that stuff first because that comes at the beginning of the movie, and they're like, all right, this is gonna work. This is gonna work for skating, and then you have to apply that to figure skating. It's like, oh no, this does not work at all.
It doesn't work. There's no chaos. It's the exact opposite.
They're required till they're like, well, where's the contact? Where's the that's where it's gonna make it interesting. Is in a slow shutter speed, you need to show like contact with
Stuff
something.
bouncing off other stuff.
It's so they're like, all right, well, we're just gonna do like a lot of shots of the boots, and it's just their ice skates. We see their skates on the ice over and over and over again.
Right.
Like, does it look good? Well, it reminds me of Gladiator. Is that good? I don't know, man.
Right. I don't know.
I don't know what this is that we're doing here.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it does work a lot better for hockey, and then it's like I think they fell in love with the look of it, and then we're like, I don't know why they chose it. I think it's actually probably a lot of things. It's probably more motivated by this makes it easier for us to do some of the moves, because if they didn't have the best skaters,
right,
who can do amazing stuff to behold, which they did have, like, pretty good skaters, and they had to pull out some stuff, but you just get the feeling from like a bunch of other movies that have done figure skating, and it's just like they just show it and it looks clean and like a television, like you watching the Olympics on TV, and they went this completely stylistic route that like totally separates it from you.
It is bizarre. And also the final move that they do where they're like, he's spinning her around. The biggest element of that is throwing somebody and them landing, and like we don't actually ever get to see that.
Nope.
I felt like you glimpsed it at the very end.
But you don't get a wide tying it all together. Like you get they land it.
They imply the idea of, and she does something and she's on her feet again.
Yeah, right. And they worked. Guess what? The thing worked.
Yeah. You see him let go. You see an insert of his hands letting go of her ankles. And then
you see her landing and being like, wow, that was wild what I just did.
That was the most crazy thing anyone in the stadium had ever seen in their lives. The end. Well, I want to see it.
Well, they cut out right before, like right after the kiss. Yeah. She just vomits right all over the ice. And it's just a perfect storybook ending, man.
Oh, she's kind of leaned back, like she's back in a dip, and just fountains gaily up over her head, and it all comes splashing back down.
It's still like kind of still all over her face. It's just looking up.
It's almost more surprising that you don't vomit after being swung around in a sine wave fashion.
I had that thought when she like twisted, she went way too fast. Yeah. And like she goes in circles way too fast. And
it's like, all right, calm down with this.
And then
spinning.
She was like, shall we go again? And I'm like, dude, the fact that you're not acting like you're fucking losing your mind from dizziness.
Get this woman a VR helmet now because she's ready to go.
I know.
It is like, it's one of the weird
put her on a boat.
Non-practical effects in the movie where they speed her up. It looks like a Small Wonder shot where like she's just spinning so fast that it's making noise. Like her body's making noise, and you're like, all right, cool it. That's not what this movie is.
She sends him back in time to before he boned that floozy.
She's electricity starts. Yeah, exactly. It's just a Terminator shot. Fucking hell.
It's
man.
Interesting that it was such a good concept that it spawned an IP though, like a franchise. I had no idea. It's true that it doesn't work for a lot of sports. Or you know what? I would like to see biathlon. Like the world's fanciest skier has to work with a really sloppy shootist who's just a piece of shit.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Like a Wild West gunslinger.
That's right. Yeah. Like a Calamity Jane.
Just a swearing up a storm. Gets in the way of their relationship.
It's like an Aryan
I see it all.
Alpine downhill skier. Yeah.
Norwegian skier this has been their life. I'd watch that.
Yeah, we need more Olympic Village movies. We really
I would love to see more Olympic Village depicted in film, and just because I'm so jealous of the idea that everyone just goes and they just all have sex with each other, and that's just how the Olympics is.
Just mirrors on every wall.
Yeah, there's like stories of people that are like returning to their room after a night out, horning it up, and like going between just like there's bunks, like there's obviously different towers that people live in, and going between the towers and seeing somebody in between the towers, just like an alley, being like, and they're having sex and it's 6 a.m, and then it just everywhere you go, it's like being on a compound. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's because you have, I mean, everyone knows the reason why. It's just a matter of
perfect people.
We had to set up a
when we're
situation for them to do that.
Well, we're all pumped. Whereas beautiful as we could possibly or will ever be at the peak of our careers, doing the thing that it feels like it's our destiny to achieve. Do you want to blow off some steam? Yes, of course I do. Yes.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, also this is all I've been thinking about. I wasn't allowed to think about boys. I wasn't allowed to think about girls because I had to train. And then like this was the moment that I've been training for and it's done. It's like,
oh, they'll be like, I did it. I got third. It's decided. It's over now. Yeah.
Yeah. Where does your eye turn then? Yeah. And then I heard also that, I read up on this constantly. I heard that if you have a gold medal as a man in the Olympics, that's like a currency. Like
that's 4 blowjobs and 1 hand job. Yeah.
There are women who are attracted to the men at the Olympics who have one. But it turns out the other direction, it doesn't matter. It's just like these horned up dudes are just like, which one's the hottest?
Yeah, right. I feel like a lot of people, they're like, well, didn't win gold, still got the bone though. You know, like everyone's just pretty much like, this is a great time. We're all having a good time. Yeah. So
see, I want to be an Olympic Village groupie who takes the bronzes. Who's like, hey man, come over here. I'll take care of you. You did good. Mm-hmm. It's still very impressive what you did. All right. You earned it.
That's true.
Just batting cleanup out there.
Exactly.
That's some fucked up shit, man.
No toe pick here.
I mean, it's maniacal. It's
through.
Maniacal. Yeah. No, I mean, you do what works, and if that's what works for you, Michael, I support you.
Kind of works for me too. I feel like I join you.
Kind of works. Yeah. Man, I'm nowhere near an Olympic Village in any time in my life.
Yeah, I'm afraid that door might have shut for me. I guess maybe my children, I could start becoming. I could become a very different father suddenly.
That's so weird though, because you're like, all right, kids, get in there and start having sex with all those other Olympians.
How'd it go, son? I won the gold, Dad. You know what that means, Dad. I do, son. Good job, son. We're all proud.
That's an archetype that
it's like currency, Dad. No, I know.
It's like currency.
I want to see the dad, the dad who's being too hard on their kid early on in life, and they're like, "You gotta train.
It's all for the village.
And that's the reason the dad's doing it is to like get the kid to the village.
Gotta get you to the village. It's like on Mount Olympus.
It's amazing. It's the greatest.
Yeah,
you have to go.
The orgy at the Olympic Village is your dream, Dad.
It never was my dream. I just wanted to become an accountant. Yeah, man. This is what a fucking movie.
What a movie. What a 1992. What a trip to exactly that year, specifically.
Yeah. Terry Quinn. What else do we got? I don't think I have anything else, my man.
No, I went through everything that
I'm looking at my highlights. You threw me out of your room. Is this a bounce spin to a throw? No, that's illegal. No rule says a dog can't compete in the Olympics. Wait, that's for next episode. All right, yeah, I threw it all. All righty. Yeah.
Well,
boy, this put me in mind of our Knight Riders episode.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Soren, you're always such a good fit with a movie that's like fun and dumb.
Oh, they're my favorite movies. That's all I've got time for anymore.
Yeah, right.
All right, so do see Moonfall then in that case.
Okay. I'll definitely watch it.
Yeah.
It's very dumb.
Perfect.
We were talking about it before.
It's dumb. Yeah.
Yeah. But let's do the thing where you have to do the plug. We force you to plug.
Yeah, you have to.
What do you got going on? Any projects you working on? Anything exciting? What do you want to talk about?
My name is Soren Bowie, and you can find me on Twitter at Soren_LTD, and you can listen to the podcast that I do with Daniel O'Brien, also from Crack. Called Soren and Daniel. No, it's not.
I was like, that's not it. That's not what it's called.
It's called Quick Question with Soren and Daniel, and it's available wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can also watch my episodes of American Dad, which I'll have one out probably in the fall. That's as close as I can give you.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah, fucking A. That's great. Good job, We're so grateful to have you here as always. You're a good friend of the
You're
pod.
Our friend.
You're just a friend.
In real life.
In real life. It's nice to catch up with you, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I love doing this.
Hell yeah. Till next time.
We talk at a movie.
Frame rate! Frame rate!
Oh, God.
This has been a Small Beans endeavor. We're a bunch of pals who make podcasts, sketches, music, web series, and movies. The beans always have new ideas percolating, so make sure to check us out at patreon.com/smallbeans. That's patreon.com/smallbeans, where you can browse all of our current and past content, see what we've got planned in the future, and learn how your support can help the small beans grow into huge, giant monster beans. If you enjoyed this content module, please like, rate, subscribe, or tell a friend about us. We love you!